Today, we're breaking down a truly historic match that unfolded under the bright lights of a packed BC Place in Vancouver, Canada. I mean, if you love a classic David versus Goliath story, you're in the exact right place. We're going to look at how tactical discipline, raw youth, and sheer willpower can completely dismantle overwhelming statistical dominance. This isn't just a recap, we are dissecting the actual anatomy of a World Cup upset. Let's get into it.
Think about this for a second. How does a team survive 30 shots in a massive 72% opponent possession to not just draw, but actually win a World Cup match? On paper, that is a statistical impossibility. Usually, if you let a team take that many shots and hold the ball for that long, you're getting completely blown out. Okay, let's dive into this and deconstruct exactly how the seemingly impossible became reality on the pitch.
Section 1. The setup, a daring gamble. We're looking at star power versus unproven youth.
So, to really appreciate this upset, you've got to understand the stakes here. Turkey was making a highly anticipated return to the World Cup stage after a long, agonizing 24-year absence, and their lineup? Absolutely stacked. We're talking UEFA Champions League talent, spearheaded by Real Madrid's sensational youngster, Arda Güler. Now, against that sheer star power, Australian manager Tony Popovic made an incredibly daring, honestly, some would say reckless gamble. Right before the biggest match in years, he drops his veteran captain and established goalkeeper Matt Ryan in favor of a totally inexperienced 21-year-old rookie named Patrick Beach. Popovic literally put his entire World Cup campaign on the shoulders of unproven youth against seasoned European stars. You need to keep this calculated risk in mind because it's the foundation for everything that happens next.
Moving right along to Section 2, the squeeze, the illusion of control. Let's see how one team completely dictated the tempo.
Right from the very first whistle, this match looked exactly like the mismatch the pundits predicted. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that massive 72% slice of the possession pie for Turkey. They played perfectly to the script of heavy favorites. They dictated the tempo, passing the ball in slick, short triangles and completely starving the Australians of the ball. Arda Güler was an absolute menace early on, flashing a shot over the crossbar and constantly probing the Australian defense for any tiny weakness. The Socceroos were entirely pinned back into their own half, relying purely on desperate blocks and rigid defensive structure just to survive those opening minutes. Honestly, it looked like only a matter of time before Turkey found the back of the net.
On to Section 3, the counterpunch, a historic breakthrough. Get ready for some lethal precision against the run of play.
You know, football is a game of moments. You don't need the ball for 90 minutes, you just need to be absolutely clinical when you do have it. Let's walk through this timeline of pure chaos that completely flipped the script. It all starts in the 27th minute. Totally against the run of play, Australian midfielder Paul Okon-Engstler spots a tiny gap. He lofts this magnificent, defense-splitting long ball right over the top of the aggressively positioned Turkish backline.
And waiting on the receiving end of that incredible pass was 20-year-old Watford forward Nestory Irankunda, showcasing just blistering pace. Irankunda leaves 3 Turkish defenders basically chasing his shadow. He brings the ball out of the air beautifully with his first touch, sets himself, and drills a powerful low strike right past Turkish goalkeeper Uğurcan Çakır. Just like that, the unproven youth strikes, and Irankunda becomes Australia's youngest ever World Cup goalscorer. The stadium erupted. He sprinted to the corner flag, mimicking the legendary Tim Cahill's iconic boxing celebration, sending a jolt of pure electricity through the Australian fans.
All right, Section 4, the brick wall. Surviving the siege. This is where we see the absolute vindication of a manager's gamble. Now, as you'd probably expect, Turkey responded to going down a goal with pure, unadulterated fury. The second half turned into a relentless, suffocating siege. Turkey brought on the dangerous winger Kenan Yıldız for a spark of creativity, and they just proceeded to hurl absolutely everything they had at the Australian penalty box. I really want this number to sink in. 30 shots taken by Turkey over the course of the match. That is a staggering volume of offensive pressure. I mean, for most of the game, the ball barely even left the Australian defensive third.
So the crucial point is this number right here, 8. 8 spectacular game-saving stops from the 21-year-old rookie goalkeeper Patrick Beach. Remember that massive gamble by Tony Popovic we talked about? Well, this is exactly where it paid off. Beach was an absolute brick wall. Just 3 minutes after Australia scored, Abdülkerim Bardakçı unleashed a roaring long-range shot destined for the top corner, and Beach pulled off a full-stretch fingertip save to tip it onto the post. He stopped curling free kicks from Güler. He parried away powerful strikes from Hakan Çalhanoğlu.
Against a relentless wave of 30 shots, the rookie simply refused to be beaten.
Section 5. The knockout blow. We're looking at sealing the upset by forcing the air.
You see, with every save Beachy made and every clearance the defense managed, Turkey's frustration just kept mounting. And in elite football, frustration breeds mistakes. Let's move to and see how this builds into the dagger that ended the game in the 75th minute. Step 1, instead of just sitting back, Australia triggers an aggressive, coordinated press. Step 2, this unexpected pressure forces a critical midfield turnover by Turkey's Ismail Yüksek. Step 3, the ball breaks to Australian midfielder Connor Metcalfe. And Metcalfe, he doesn't hesitate for a second. He charges forward confidently and unleashes a stunning, low, left-footed drive from 20 yards out. It flies perfectly into the bottom corner, doubling Australia's lead to 2-0 and sending BC Place into total delirium. The trap was set, the error was forced, and the execution was just flawless.
Those final moments, pure, unfiltered desperation from Turkey. They faced 6 grueling minutes of stoppage time. Turkey even threw their goalkeeper forward into the box, desperately searching for any kind of lifeline. But it was no use. The towering Australian defender, Harry Suter, put on an absolute clinic, making a string of heroic, towering clearances to preserve the clean sheet. Despite having all the possession and all the shots, Turkey looked entirely toothless against this incredibly organized Aussie defense.
When the final whistle finally blew, the scoreboard confirmed the impossible, a 2-0 victory for the underdogs. It was exactly as this quote describes, a tactical masterclass in counter-attacking football. Tony Popovic's massive gamble on youth didn't just pay off. It handed Australia one of its greatest World Cup opening victories in 2 decades, leaving a dominant but deeply frustrated Turkey side utterly heartbroken. It leaves us all with a fascinating question to ponder. In the modern game, what is the actual value of holding the ball for 72% of a match if you don't have the tactical efficiency to break down a wall? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope it gave you a whole new perspective on how games are truly won and lost.